Is there one trait that you've realised in the members that kind of go to huge successes that you think has helped them reach that? If there's like one trait in everyone that you think, okay, they're doing really well, what would you say that trait is?
Well, that's a really tough question, because I think about it a lot, because we have, like even in this community at Trampery Republic, you've seen there's so many different kinds of people. There's no template there. And then across the whole Trampery community, there's so much diversity, and very different kinds of people turn out to be very successful. But I think there are a few common threads, and one of them is self-criticism. That I haven't seen anybody become successful who doesn't have the ability to question themselves and have the courage to look at themselves critically. That is a very, very valuable skill for anybody who wants to develop a creative practice or to become an entrepreneur. And it requires a certain kind of humility, that you need to acknowledge your failings and be comfortable with that as well. You can't afford to be too antsy about it.
Yeah.
And obviously there are a load of other qualities you need as well, including confidence. But that ability to look at yourself critically and look at what you're doing critically, I think that's absolutely universal for people who become successful.
If you could send a direct message to everyone that works at the Trampery, what would it say?
Be yourself today.
Why is that?
Because so we live in a society that doesn't really help us to be ourselves, that is constantly giving our messages of what we should be looking like and what we should be doing and what we should be aspiring to. And so we grow up trying to conform to certain patterns and trying to win approval from, it starts off being our parents and then the teachers at school, and they're always authority figures that we're meant to be trying to impress. And it's all rubbish. That what matters is being ourselves. So I don't think, we can't hear it often enough, that every day we should be trying to take a step closer to being ourselves. And that's more important for entrepreneurs and creative people than anybody else, because that's the heart of your practice. So you're not trying to impress anybody, you're not trying to conform to any pattern that's imposed by someone else. All you're trying to do is be as good as you can at being yourself, and then expressing that through your creative practice.
You can't copy something or someone and be better than them, because they're being them, they're pulling from different references, different people. But it's scary sometimes to be yourself, because sometimes you might be at the point where you don't know who you are yet, which is fine. And I feel like people put a lot of pressure on themselves to quickly just say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I like, this is what I'm going to do, I'm not going to stop. And people don't, it's fine to go through phases, it's okay to maybe want to do music like you did and then go into other things, and I feel like that's an important message people need to understand. You can do something once, like for me, for example, I used to swim and I was really good, and then thought, oh, I'm going to get onto a swimming team, then maybe, the Olympics, and that's what everyone wanted for me, but I knew, okay, this is something I did because I went to swimming since I was 3. Don't really have a choice there. But once I could make my own choices, I stepped away from that, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be successful or I'm a failure or I gave up. It's just because that chapter is now closed, and I can still pull inspiration and thoughts from that place, but it doesn't mean I have to still do that for the rest of my life. And I think that's a really, really important message, because it can feel suffocating if you feel like you have to stay and make the same thing again and again.
Yeah, the expectations of other people can be the most suffocating thing. And they're very hard to free yourself from. But the more you do that, then the more liberated you become to do what you're meant to do.
Yeah, and obviously when you do that first, whether it's with parents or whatever, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy depending on your situation, but the more you do it, And if you're willing to deal with the repercussions of what that is and whatever that means, you'll slowly start to see that you're going to start gaining from it. You might not see the results straight away, but even you just feeling happy and breathing a bit easier is worth you not feeling suffocated doing something you don't want to do. And the freedom, that's what I feel like being a creative or entrepreneur is about. It's just the freedom to really just do what you want to do, but then there's responsibility with that. It doesn't mean that you stay at home in pajamas and watch daytime TV. It's about respecting your freedom as well, which I think is a balance that a lot of people, when they first start out, start to figure out the hard way.
Yeah, and there's a kind of dedication
important
to that is required as well. That it's not an easy path. And as we said at the beginning, that it can be quite lonely in some ways, and it will challenge you in very deep ways. And it's not for everyone. That I guess there's a certain section of the population that, in the end, has the drive and the need to pursue a creative profession or an entrepreneurial profession. But I think if you're one of those people, then you probably know it.
Yeah.
And it's a question of figuring out the best way to make it real.
That's very true. And just for the audience, what 3 things would you recommend to someone that is deciding, you know what, I want to be a creative entrepreneur? What 3 things would you say they could look out for or that they should do?
So one of them would be, rather than think about it too much, just try something. So action is really where you learn stuff. That you can spend months agonizing about things and worrying about it and wondering and not get anywhere. What actually matters is just try something and see what happens. So action, just put things into action, and that's number 1. Number 2, try to find experienced people who are doing the thing that you're interested in and charm them into talking to you about it. Just get somebody to have a coffee with you for half an hour and get them to talk to you about it, because they'll probably ask you questions that will help you, that will answer your own questions much more quickly than you'd be able to do independently. So, and it comes back to the mentoring that we talked about at the beginning. So experienced people are a very valuable resource.
Now you're at the space where you've grown your company, you've got different sites across London. What advice would you give to someone that potentially lives outside of London that wants to be creative?
Well, happily, the reality is that in almost every large town or city, not just in the UK, but around Europe and to some extent the whole world, there are now creative workspaces that are providing a focal point for people who are interested in developing entrepreneurial creative careers. So obviously if you're growing up in a small village somewhere, you're not going to have that. But probably in the nearest town, there'll be a place. So it doesn't just need to be about London and places like this now. This is happening everywhere. And actually, there are things that are equally interesting. It's not just it's all best in the biggest cities. It's really a very spread out pattern now. So regardless where you are, find the nearest town that's got a creative hub of some kind and go and visit it. And if they've got events, go to the event, speak to people, because that becomes your support group very quickly. And I think this is such a pervasive phenomenon now, and there's so much interconnection as well, that as you get a clearer idea of what your real passion is, then you'll start to understand where are the places in the world or in the UK where the most interesting things are happening, and you'll find a way to visit.